Is Brian Kelly yesterday speaking on the presser. This is updating the status, Stewie, here of his quarterback after Saturday night leaving the game in Tuscaloosa.
The office.
Yeah, I think I would consider him day to day. He's going through the injury protocol, and he's made improvements. But this is a process that we'll just have to, see how it plays out from day to day. But I can tell you that he's made some progress. Yeah, look, we want to protect the quarterback, and certainly there was a penalty on the play. Targeting is looked at by the replay officials. They had plenty of time. I think we even went to there was a timeout there as well. So there was plenty of time to look at it. They must have felt that there wasn't targeting. We sent it into the league office because we felt like it checked all the boxes. But again, we want to protect the quarterback here, obviously.
Kelly speaking on the health of Jaden Daniels, expecting him to be day-to-day in a call. You'll get updates throughout the week. Kelly will be on the SEC teleconference tomorrow. He'll have a press conference on Thursday following practice, and then, of course, he'll have his radio show on Thursday night. So there'll be a lot of opportunities to be updating the status on Jaden Daniels. And, look, you can see the frustration there on Brian Kelly. He can't come out and speak on just how poor of a call that was. Just because of the rules in the league and the head coaches and what they have to abide by. But, I mean, you can sense his body language and tell that he's it was the wrong call. All right, these next couple of bites are on the defense, and this is the one that, Kelly was talking about, the quarterback spy. Stewie, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6 in succession, and we'll just kind of set them up and roll to them. But we'll start with 3. And Kelly is being asked about what changes he would have made on the defense now looking back on the game.
Team with?
Oh, absolutely. I think you're always looking at things that you can, do over. Hindsight is 20/20, right? Could we have spied the quarterback? Absolutely. There were third down situations that, third and long that clearly we felt like we wanted to be in, more coverage, and we felt like our unit pass rush could keep them in the pocket. That did not prove to be the case. I would say that was probably, the number one thing in terms of if we had to do some things coaching-wise differently, we probably would have employed a spy technique.
Here is halftime adjustments. Kelly speaking on halftime adjustments.
Yeah, we went out 28-21. We scored first. Again, we got to the fourth quarter. It was 35-28, and, we get a deflected ball, and they end up on the 25-yard line, and that was the difference. They had the ball for 11 minutes to our 3 and change in the fourth quarter. We did not convert a third or a fourth down, on offense, and they converted 2 out of 3 third downs. So we didn't have the ball, and when Jaden went out, we weren't effective and as efficient on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't know that, look, we have spy within our package. We didn't utilize it in certain situations that, in retrospect, would have been a great call. That's not really a halftime adjustment per se. You have that in your plan. That's just a matter of making that call. I remember clearly writing up on the board, for our football team, in the second half was tackling better. We needed better leverage. Our eyes needed to be better. And I felt like if we did those things, we were going to be in good shape. And then from an offensive standpoint, it was, continue to have the balance that we had.
How about his assessment of the defensive staff up to this point?
Look, we're playing the players that are best suited to get the time necessary, and I think they're developing. I thought we did a heck of a job battling a big and powerful offensive unit against Alabama. I thought our defensive line was battling and was physical. They didn't knock us off the ball. A lot of their running game, we had one misfit in the B gap, and the quarterback ran on us. So I think coming off a shutout against Army, coming off a really good performance against Auburn, and then the back end of the Missouri game, I think there's been really good progress from a defensive standpoint. That was a team that played very well, and we set their offense up on the 25-yard line, and then we didn't convert a fourth down, which gave them a half field to deal with on a fourth down that we didn't make as well. So overall, as I mentioned, could we have made a couple of calls to get the quarterback spied? Absolutely. But we're making the kind of progress that I need to see from a defensive standpoint.
I would push back and ask just where. I know that he kind of explained that, but to me, that looked a lot and felt a lot like the Ole Miss game, where it didn't matter the starting position, it didn't matter the time on the clock, it didn't matter who was in. They just couldn't stop anybody. And, that is one of the things that I believe when you're looking for progress, that just feels like it's in neutral. It feels like kind of the same product that it was a month ago. One more on the defense. This is 6, Stewie, of Kelly talking more about what's going on defensively.
Or somewhere in between.
Yeah, we're going to save those questions, and I respect the question, but my focus is on Florida right now and stopping their inside zone game. That really is. I respect the question, and certainly there's going to be a time for those questions, and we'll answer those questions. But my mind is really wrapped around getting another win, playing at a high level, and beating Florida right now.
So more, and look, if I get asked more in public about, it's crazy, about like Denver Harris than I do anything that's going on in my life. Like, it's wild.
Like it's your son.
Yeah, it's wild. And I will tell you this, Stewie, this is 12. If you want to know why Denver Harris has been such
a mercurial,
an issue of finding him, playing him, getting him on the team, dressing him, where is he, why is he? I think this is the soundbite that describes what has been going on with Harris and why he's not right now, whatever his status is with LSU football.
Yeah, so this journey that we're on about, it's not about talent, it's about talent and traits, and building traits where there's, an attention to detail, the fine details, has to happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just don't show up on Saturday and go, you know what? I'm going to have attention to detail today. So that's the process that we're in within this program, is building that attention to detail, that when you have a tutor's appointment at 9:30, you don't show up at 10:30. You show up at 9:25. That's attention to detail. Or when there's a meeting that is at 2 o'clock, you don't show up at 1:59. That attention to detail takes a lot of time. It takes consistency and building those habits. We're working on that. We are not a finished product, but they're working hard to get there. We're just not there yet. And that, when you get there, you start to move yourself up from good to great to elite.
So I think those are some of the things that have been stressing Brian Kelly in building the program. And you're doing it with some personalities that take a little longer to catch on. And I think that is, that's some of the things and what has been hounding, I know, guys like Harris. Just kind of things that are not, by any means torturous to the team and detrimental to anybody's health or good standing of where they are. It's just little things that, I say little things, but I mean things that matter, ultimately in the program that you have to either abide and adjust or, you can't be a part of. And that's just, that's the contract that you sign. And that's what you sign up for. And, the people that get it are usually the ones on the field. And that's what is, if anybody's like, what's going on? I would say reference Brian Kelly's Florida Week press conference when he talks about, the little things of building the program and how much, that matters in what goes into the day-to-day operations and Saturdays of what's going on with LSU football. I mean, that feels like it's it. This is 16, Stewie. The practice plan for Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels this week, what's it look like for the quarterback for LSU?
Not new yet.
Today is not a practice day, so we didn't have to make that determination. We wouldn't make that determination until tomorrow when he goes through the next stage of his protocol.
Okay. So at this point, you can't quite decide yet, like how you'd split up reps between him and Garrett or anything like that. That's all going to be, like you said, kind of day to day.
That would probably be day to day. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
One more on Jaden Daniels and his play. What is it doing for the expectation of LSU? What's it doing for the overall feel of LSU? How much does Jaden Daniels' play really cover up what's going on, or what the expectation is for the program?
I really hadn't thought about that. Listen, my expectations are the same as everybody else's expectations. Our offense is ahead of our defense. I want our defense to catch up, certainly, right? Our offense is one of the best, if not one of the best offense in the country. But we're not at the same level. We have to continue to build, and we have to continue to recruit. We have to continue to coach at the highest level, and that's just not the case yet. But we're going to continue to get there, and we're going to continue to make the progress. I was asked the question, where do you feel your defense is? We're making progress defensively. It might not be at the level we all want to, but we have to then in the off season look at, all right, where are we in all phases? Kind of the question that Ed brought up is the bigger picture. We'll do a deeper dive at the end of the season on all those other things because we have to be able to catch up to where our offense is. Good? Hey, Coach. All right.
Brian Kelly, this was him being asked about this Alabama hangover that has haunted LSU, right? For many years, this time in the schedule and this time for the program has been some dark days. Kelly spoke on keeping the team and the program motivated for the last month of the season.
Team this week.
It's the same thing about, what last week was about. It wasn't an emotional week. It was a preparation week for us. So this week will be the same. We need to prepare. Listen, it goes to what I said. Like, if we want to be elite, we have to be consistent. We won 10 games last year. You need to win 10 again. And that's in front of you. So you have an opportunity to win 10 games again this season. And if you want to start closing the gap towards being elite, then back-to-back 10-win seasons starts to do that. So it's a challenge to our football team in terms of how do you want this program to continue to grow? It's on your shoulders, and you have an opportunity to continue to get better. Coaches need to get better, and players clearly need to get better. And so this is a great opportunity playing a really good opponent at home, and you've got a chance to move from being a good team to being a great team.
One more from Kelly of what's on the table for LSU and still what they have yet to accomplish here this season.
College football.
Look, to me, I always break it down by not the wins and losses. It's about who do you want to be? You have choices, right? You can be bad at things if you want to be bad at things. You can be average at things, 500's average. You can be good at things. Maybe that's 7 or 8 wins. You can be great or elite. I'm I think we can be so much better than good. We can be great, and great requires more of a commitment, and so they're going to have to give more this week. The coaches are going to have to give more. The players are going to have to give more. So if you're not interested in being great or elite, you have choices to make. I want to be around great. I want to be around elite, because that's what this program. I didn't come down to LSU to be good. I came here to be elite. And our players that sign scholarship papers here, I'm sure they do it because they want to be elite too. I know our fan base doesn't want good. I can tell already that that's not the case. It's about being elite. So these are weeks where you're talking about, why are you here? I know why I'm here. Why are you here? We're here on this chase to be elite. And so this week is going to require you to work on these things totally, physically, technically, tactically, mentally, if you want to be elite.
I love that answer. You know, I mean, I got to be honest. That's one of those answers where you're like, all right, man, that's what I'm talking about. Let's do that. You know, I mean, that's the mindset that you feel that nobody's going to accept that, the feeling of what it is and what it's like to lead a big-time heavyweight program that has expectations to be championship-level contending every season. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, like that's great. That's great to hear. Like, now, play with weeks. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, play the guys that give you the right chance, or put the guys in place that can recruit, that can evaluate, that can develop. You know, I mean, get those guys in place. I mean, yeah, I think that there is a sense of cleanup to the program that started with, Brian Polian, and I think there's more of that mentality that has to be, you got to get back to what made LSU great. And I know that we've talked about this before, and I respect what Brian Kelly is bringing to LSU. I think what he's bringing LSU needed. And Lloyd and I were talking about it before the show. The last time LSU really had this sense of structure was with Saban. I mean, you talk to Saban guys early on, there was a transition period of, hey, look, you either adapt or die. You either sink or swim. Because you're going to go to tutor, you're going to go to class, you're going to maintain a GPA, and you're going to make sure that it's done up to this standard. And look, I'm not sitting here saying that they were all Rhodes Scholars at the time, and they may have had tutors writing papers for them, but they were at the tutor. They were there. They were in person. They were going through the protocol of what it meant to be structured and creating a discipline. And, that was very important to building those teams and building the discipline and behavior that it took to understand what leadership and what accountability and what all of that, meant to the locker room. Right? Because it just wasn't about, interceptions and catching touchdowns. I mean, you had to be accountable all the time to your teammates and to the program, and all of that was instilled through, standards and discipline that Saban brought in 2000. And, a national championship, SEC championship, things that started to follow. Wasn't just because he was getting good players. He was getting good players to abide into discipline, buy into discipline, and they were just now producing on Saturdays. I mean, it turned into just a machine. So I understand what Kelly is intentionally trying to do. And LSU needs it. LSU, I think, when he got here, was desperate for it. And you started to see the benefits of the SWAT team and the structure and the environment of, the nutrition and on time and people. It's all.
I mean, yeah, everybody that is harping on the fact that, it's too disciplined, whatever. You were all singing his praises for bringing all of these protocols in last year. Taking your vitamins, the SWAT team, going to tutor. Because when Ed Orgeron came, or whenever he left and Brian Kelly came in, you had Moffitt come on your show for whenever Ed Orgeron was the head coach, and he was saying, in 2019, we had the first time ever of 100% participation in every practice, every workout, everything. The next year, it was down to 65 to 70% participation. Like, that's how easily it fell off because you don't hold people accountable. Like, it's easy to win whenever you have that amount of talent, and then everything's fun. It's almost like Coach Carter. Like, you start winning, you forget about the little things, and what did he do? Lock the gym. Same thing with that Orgeron, because if you don't at one point, then you don't have any accountability. Nobody does anything. And it's hard to hold people responsible whenever you're not doing it yourself. And so you can see what he's trying to do, and it's frustrating for LSU fans because you look at one thing, you say, win. Well, I don't care if they go to class, I want them to win. But for Brian Kelly to build sustained success, and he said it himself, I'm here for 10 years. If I don't put my plan in place now, when am I going to do it?
Right. And look, I believe he is tasked with that and got the job when LSU's roster was in shambles. I mean, it was totally, at the bottom. I mean, it was the bottom of what LSU has ever had. 38 scholarship players when he took over the job. I mean, that is starting from scratch. And so, bringing in that discipline and having to reload and rebuild and bring in talent is a very challenging job. And just year 2 of it is understandable that you're still behind. What I believe has really kind of shifted the growth process is the ability to evaluate and the ability to get players onto campus and then develop them. That is where LSU is lacking behind, specifically on the defensive side. On the offensive side, I mean, they're like an NFL team. I mean, like Cortez Hankton, Frank Wilson, Brad Davis, and those guys. I mean, just keep the level. Mike Denbrock, Joe Sloan, just keep the level and the standard of what you guys have created. I mean, just flirting with where you're at, and those guys will be cherry picked, and you'll have to, those guys are making a lot of money. Right. And you're going to have to continue to pay those guys to keep them just because of the type of players they're bringing in, the way that they're being developed, and, what they're accomplishing on the field. On the defensive side, what has changed, in my opinion, is you don't have the capability, obviously, to recruit at a very high level and get guys. I mean, if you look at the number of defensive backs that LSU has missed on in the last couple of years, it is.
You could go down the list.
I mean, Stewie put the list together. Was it last week?
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of players that they had that LSU has tried to bring in and missed on, or that they don't even play the position. And you've taken safeties that are now playing corners that aren't on the program, corners that are transfers that get hurt, that don't play. Like, the lack of bodies is something that can't happen. I think that's why LSU fans are so frustrated. You look at the development on the offensive side of the football, where you have Jane Daniels go from, I don't know if he's the starter, to he should win the Heisman. And you look at the defense side of the ball, it's like they can't figure out whether they should spy or not. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
Because one side is so good and clearly getting developed and recruited. The other side is they don't have a warm body.
And then I open on 3, and one of Louisiana's top defensive linemen, DK Mays, at Central High School, kid says he doesn't even know if LSU is going to offer him.
Senior?
He's a junior, but he has Texas A&M already, Mississippi State already.
Well, they don't have a D-line coach.
He said Alabama. He said he feels like Alabama's probably going to offer him before LSU does.
They don't have a D-line coach.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's a Louisiana kid. It doesn't take a D-line coach to tell a kid he has an offer to LSU.
Right.
I know, but I think that's part of the problem is there's so much stacked on top of each other. Whenever you don't have a position coach, one thing, like a kid can fall through the cracks, and then he has to say something like that to, like, oh, shit, we didn't give him an LSU offer? Like, whose job is that? Y'all got 100 people on staff. What are y'all doing?
No, it's a kid like Mays is an easy.
That's what I'm saying, but it hasn't happened.
That's an easy evaluation.
Yeah,
easy recognition.
Especially when you look at your D-line.
Exactly.
Like, just throw an offer at him.
There's playing time here for you.
Counted money one. Jordy, you're literally the one saying, who cares if Denver Harris wasn't following the structure? What happened? Look, I mean, people want to keep coming me as.
No, you wanted to give him some rope.
I never said that Denver Harris should get different rules. I mean, I know I said that Denver Harris knew what he signed up for. And I also understand that, like, there is punishment outside of playing time. Right? Like, I mean, there's ways to make guys feel that if you don't abide, you can't play. But you also have to have a clear understanding of, I mean, you got to win. I mean, we go back to Saban. I mean, Saban was...
Look at what he's doing at Alabama.
He was a tyrant at LSU. But there were guys that stepped out of line and, were late to things and missed, tutoring appointments, but they played on Saturday. I mean,
yeah, but make your life hell Sunday through Friday.
We can all go back to the story of Damian James very early on in Saban's career. I mean, him and Damian James butted heads every single day. He'd have James running stadiums. He'd have James coming in 2 hours earlier than everybody. He'd have people, James staying later after practice with him. I mean, he had Damian James in a vice grip. But Damian James started every Saturday. Now, at the end, they just ran out of gas with each other, and they ended up going separate ways. But, I mean...
During the season, you had him.
Yeah, right. I mean, he was a guy that gave you a headache every single day, but he also gave you the best chance to win. And while there are ways to institute your policy, there are also ways to punish guys without them missing playing time.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, I also, I get missing a series or two if the playing time is in the cards of missing. But you make guys miss entire games and entire series, entire halves,
seasons.
Man, what's the purpose? What at the end of the day, what's the goal? Is it to win football games? Because if it is, you need to find another source of punishment for a guy like him, because you got to have him on Saturdays. And I'm not even talking specifically about Harris. I'm talking about guys in general.
I mean, even you can go back
and I saw that firsthand from Saban.
Yeah.
I mean, Saban was the one that really was like, hey, yeah, I mean, he's not going to cost me. You know what I mean? That was kind of his mentality. I mean, I'll never forget John Brady and Nick Saban were on campus together. This is around 2000. They shared an office together and would consistently share these kind of coffee pot talks, chats, kind of hallway chats. They'd be, walking down the hall together or in the elevator together at the coffee machine. And Brady asked him about that specifically. How do you discipline these guys? How do you keep these guys motivated? How do you, different discipline for different guys? He's like, he's not going to cost me. My contract says that I got to win football games. If I don't, I lose my job. That's what I'm judged on. So he's not gonna put my good standing in jeopardy, right? But he's gonna make sure and feel it that he's gonna abide, but he's gonna play. And I always kind of thought that was the responsibility of a football coach. I mean, there's a lot of ways to punish a guy on campus. Missing time, it's not the only way. I mean. What's the famous line that Jimmy Johnson said when he came in and the guy taking the nap in the meeting was like a 7th-round pick? And he told the guy right there on the spot, pack your stuff, get out, you're cut. The whole room was like, whoa. After the meeting, somebody asked him, what happened if that would have been Troy Aikman sleeping? He said, I'd have woke him up. Yeah. You know what I mean? I sure as hell wouldn't have cut him. You know what I mean? There's different rules for different players.
It's always been that way.
Right? I mean, there's just different ways to get there. So,
look what happened with Cam Robinson. Man, he gets arrested for marijuana in Louisiana. What's happened when he comes back to Alabama?
Right.
You're fine. Right. All good. People are going to make mistakes, but it's this iron fist type thing that I think turns people off of the Brian Kelly situation, where if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, and it's, Coach, I'm going to tutor, and I'll walk the door at 2 o'clock. That's when they expected to see me.
I think you should be punished if you show up an hour late for the tutor.
Oh no, I'm saying, but if you're not 15 minutes early,
15 minutes, yeah. I get that, but if it's at 2 and I'm showing up at 1:59, I shouldn't get penalized for that.
Right.
But if
I
it's
show up
4
at
p.m.,
you should run stadiums.
Yeah, and
if it's at 1:30, you should run a lot of stadiums.
And then, but you should also that should be baked into hey. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. It can't be a surprise. And it feels, at least from my perspective, a lot of what's happened with the Denver Harris and the Deuce Chestnut situation, all of that, it feels like they don't know when what weight is up now. What do I have to do? Oh, wait, I'm playing. No, I'm not playing. All of those types of things, it just feels like it's not very clear cut on who he picks and chooses to get disciplined, especially Colin Jackson wearing his chain on the sideline. It's do we really give a fuck about that?
Like,
Hey.
is that really like something we're worried about?
Right,
before a game?
and then if you're a player, you hear that, you're like,
Or if you do, like make sure like Kylan, I'll see you 5 o'clock Tuesday morning.
yeah,
Exactly.
you can wear that. You can wear that if you want.
Yeah, right. You'll run a lot of stuff. You'll watch the sun come up in Tiger Stadium while you're running.
Sweet, and I'm gonna wear my chain there too.
Thanks for tuning in to our premium LSU content right here on YouTube. If you want more of it, subscribe below.